Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Third Space Live. I'm Jody Peel, Executive Director of Third Space Charity, located in the beautiful Okanagan Valley of British Columbia, Canada. This is the pre-show. In a few minutes, we'll get going and we'll invite guest Barb Egan to join our conversation. Wanted to tell you a little bit more about us and a few other things before we get going today. Now, we have launched this show during this unprecedented time to deliver services in a new and unprecedented way to try to support our community. Later this week, we will be posting our video resource library, including all of our shows on our website, so stay tuned. You can find out more at thirdspacecanada.org. You can also sign up for our newsletter to stay in touch, and you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram. I wanted to thank the team at Third Space Cafe in the Landmark District in Kelowna, which is a social enterprise that supports this charity, and they do a wonderful job of supporting our frontline workers. The last couple of weeks, they've been doing extraordinary acts of generosity, and I wanted to shout out and say thank you to Lonnie and his team for all they do. They also make the best coffee in town, and they have amazing food, so you can check out their online ordering at thirdspacecoffee.ca. And what am I going to do here? I'm now going to do my act of gratitude. We'll be starting, for those of you joining us, we'll be starting this show in a few short minutes. What we've been doing the last few weeks is, before we begin, is to reflect a little bit on the current COVID situation and to send out some gratitude and appreciation to all the frontline workers who are working hard. Today, what I'm going to do is mirror that and say thank you to everybody. Keep it up. You're doing amazing. We're doing great as a community, and we're doing the right thing. It's working. So I know over the Easter weekend, it was tough at my house with 2 teenagers feeling stir crazy and really frustrated and angry. So I know this has been going on for a long time, and we don't know how much longer it's going to go on, but stay the course, stay strong, and reach out for help and support if you need it. You can do that by reaching out to Third Space. Find out more on our website. So those of you joining us now, it's 12 o'clock. This is Third Space Live. I'm Jody Peel, the Executive Director of Third Space Life Charity, located in Kelowna, British Columbia. Third Space Live offers conversations, ideas, and stories to build and support a mentally healthy community. Today's April 14th, 2020, and this is episode 6. Today, guest Barb Egan is going to join us to talk about the importance and benefits of sport and exercise during COVID. And she's also going to give us some practical tips and advice for kids, families, and gym goers, as well as elite athletes, while we navigate this pandemic and the self-isolation and what that's doing to our ability to participate in our activities. So before that, I'm going to remind you that you can learn more about our charity at thirdspacecanada.org and follow us on Facebook and Instagram to stay connected. So I'm going to introduce Barb now. Barb is a pretty impressive woman. She's been on our show before. She's a new mom, and I'm just going to add her here while Barb is a former elite hockey player and coach who transitioned into clinical counseling after a career-ending injury. She's a registered clinical counselor at a live counseling group in Kelowna, British Columbia, and she's passionate about educating, equipping, and empowering others through her services. Barb is also an amazing speaker, and she's a great community leader, and she's beautiful inside and out. I said that last time, but you really are. So welcome, Barb.
Oh, hi.
Good morning.
To be back. Good morning. Can you guys hear me okay?
I can. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. How was your Easter with 3 little babies?
It was good. It was lots of Easter egg hunts. We've been doing those for about 2 months, though, just to occupy my kids outside. So it was really fun. So they liked this version of it because there was actually chocolate in some of the eggs instead of just empty or cashews or raisins or craisins, anything small that we could fit. So they liked this one a lot better.
toothbrush at
I
Halloween.
know.
Yeah.
I know. I know.
Well, let's dive into it.
Mhm.
You've got a lot of expertise in the area of sport, as well as other areas, but that's what we're talking about today. We thought we'd start today with just kind of a general review of why it's important, especially right now, to stay active and what the benefits are. Maybe you can start
Yeah.
with there.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, anyone can attest that running or exercise, you usually don't feel like it beforehand, sometimes not even during, but afterwards, you feel so good. And that's why it's because of your brain, and it produces these things called endorphins, these happy hormones, and it decreases the stress hormones. The stress hormones fuel things like, well, stress, anxiety, depression, overthinking, worrying, just natural stress. And our mind and our body are so interconnected. It's amazing. But even just that physical movement of our physical health, our physical bodies, helps our mental movement of thinking, being able to de-stress, think more clearly, feel better about ourselves, feel more confident, more accomplished, more focused, even help us to focus in on our work more, or whatever that is, our passions, being able to read and just feel good. So it's such a correlation. When we move our physical bodies, we really improve our mental health too.
I have experienced that, and I've experienced that reluctance to get moving.
Yeah.
But it's part of my personal wellness plan to manage my own mental health. Is I force myself to get out there because I know it's going to make me feel great.
Yeah.
So it's just forcing yourself to get going and started. Yeah.
And it's so much easier said than done. And obviously some of those practical tips pre-COVID were join a group, or that social accountability, where now that's not here either. Gyms are closed.
Yes.
A lot are offering maybe group fitness online or things like that. So that accountability or community piece can still be there, which is great.
Yeah.
But it's hard to get yourself self-motivated, especially if you're not able to go outside, or you can, it just looks different than a gym. Now it's maybe runs or hikes or even just walks, or home workouts, or trying to be creative. That can be really overwhelming and cause anxiety. But again, just kind of starting where you're at. It doesn't matter if you're doing an hour or 30 minutes or 20 minutes, just starting wherever you are and going from there. Maybe that's a walk, maybe that's outside, maybe that's trying to find some of these programs that are online now. A lot of the local gyms even are putting their classes online, or personal training online, or things like that, of just kind of deciding, okay, I'm going to start where I am and just try to do it. And then there's some flexibility there where I can mix it up too, but just starting is the hardest part often.
Yeah. I know a lot of gym goers in my life are really suffering, not only because it's such an important part of their day and it's an important part of how they regulate themselves and keep their body and mind healthy, but it's also the social piece. And the online classes don't necessarily offer that piece.
Right. Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
And even finding social distancing hikes or social distance walks with friends, or even just checking in of, hey, my accountability partner, or, you know, we're going to work out at the same time, and check in with each other, or how was your workout, or what'd you do today? Even your spouse, they could be that. It could be as simple, like I said, as a walk outside of, hey, how was your walk today? And just that question, knowing that they're going to ask you this, is enough sometimes to help us push us into it and motivate us.
For sure. That's a great idea. I'm one of those people that needs accountability.
Yeah.
Or it doesn't happen. I've actually got a teenage son who's promised me to set me up with a little home gym plan. So
nice.
I'm going to try to do that. I don't want to do it, but I'm going to do it. You're encouraging me to do it. So So let's talk a little bit about people who are involved in team sports, whether it's kids in hockey or adults in a higher level team sport. What tips do you have for them right now?
Well, this is not normal. And I think I said it last week too, like, it's not normal to be inside with your family 24/7. And especially if you've been involved in athletics for most of your life, it's provided routine. which routine as humans we thrive on.
Yeah.
We actually know practically in counseling and in targeting anxiety or just stress management, routine is one of the most practical things that we can implement to help decrease our stress levels.
Okay.
When that routine, your community, your friends, your teammates, your gym goers, this could be for teams or just active individuals, is gone, your normal daily routine or your coping skill of stress relieving after the end of a day of work or school before work is gone. Your routine is just upended, like the rug out from under you. No one foresaw this. That is in and of itself, there's going to be grief. And I don't think that is often we're allotted that, but it is. And if a therapist is telling you that you can grieve, you can grieve. But it really is, it's just too much too soon. That's one of our working definitions of both trauma and grief and loss. And it's too much of your entire routine, your normal life, your school or your work, your people, and your coping skill and something you really enjoy, exercise that makes you feel good, your stress management is just up and underneath you. It's gone in a blink of an eye. And it's normal then to be so disruptive and kind of off your kilter a little bit. So acknowledging that, allowing yourself to grieve, which if anyone looks up even the stages of grief, there's some anger, some frustration, resentment of this is so frustrating. Like, what am I going to do? There's some sadness of, oh man, what am I going to do? Like, that was a lifeline to me. That was really what I looked forward to. I just feel hopeless, or that lack of motivation. How am I going to do it at home? That kind of despair feeling. Those are normal. So if we work through those, we can get to acceptance, which, okay, it is what it is. It's not going to go on forever, but it is right now. So how do I make the best of it? Maybe I don't really want to do home workouts, but it's better than nothing. And I bet if I kind of check in with myself, rate myself, 10 out of 10 is the best I've ever felt. 0 is like kind of the worst I've ever felt before I work out. And I'm kind of stressed, I'm overwhelmed, I'm stir crazy. I'm going to say I'm like a 3 out of 10. Like, I'm not doing super hot. And then I force myself to work out. I put on a podcast or I put on some great music that really helps me and pumps me up, processes some emotions too, even subconsciously.
Really?
I work out for 30 minutes. Doesn't have to be the 2 hours or something crazy. And then just check in with yourself. What do you feel? Well, I feel a 6. Okay, well, that's much better than a 3. And even that to like measure can be a good strategy to make you feel more motivated for the next time of, I don't feel like doing this, but I know I'm going to feel better because I stopped and acknowledged that I felt better after it. And I'm proud of myself. So I'm increasing my confidence. So it's kind of that mental and physical reward there.
Wow. There's so much packed in there. That's so great. What occurred to me is I think there's a lot of grieving going in within my home. So you said that we have to process grief in order to move to
acceptance.
Can you talk a little bit more about how to do that?
Sure. Well, there's kind of our working model of grief is 5 stages, and it's not like, okay, step 1, step 2, and it doesn't work exactly like that, unfortunately. I equate it more like waves, like if you're at the ocean and it just hits you. Like someday it could be a song or a smell or a memory, or just it seems out of the blue that hits you that, man, I don't feel as fulfilled. I'm not at my work, or I'm not with my teammates. I'm not with these people. I'm not getting my me time, or whatever that looks like. And that's normal then to evoke a feeling of sadness or anger or any of these, even denial, bargaining. Oh, I can't believe this is happening. It won't bother me that much. Or, oh, if I only stay inside, okay, for 2 weeks, then, this will all be gone. And now we're kind of past that point where it's been a little longer than 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And so it's more normal for those feelings of more like anger, resentment, frustration, sadness, like just kind of feeling a little hopeless, or kind of like the winds out of your sails to come up. Let yourself feel those. Let yourself work out to them. For me, even though I'm a therapist, I'm not great at always identifying or processing my emotions. I actually really benefit from coupling it with exercise. And that's part because that's my background. That's what I'm familiar with, is exercising. But there's something about music that we can relate to. And you don't need to exercise listening to music in this But music can speak to us of what we're feeling with the melody, with the lyrics, even when we don't know how to put it to words. So I really find music helpful, as well as exercise. If you're getting, literally, you're sweating out some toxins and some stress, and you don't even realize it. Like, our sweat is clear and you don't see it, but imagine that stress just kind of coming out of you, and that yourself is getting stronger. And it takes, just like any mental new strategy, so positive self-talk, of even checking in with yourself, for example, like that 3 out of 10 to 6 out of 10, or acknowledging after you work out, hey, great job, my body's amazing, like I was able to walk outside and enjoy the sunshine. I'm just trying to practice that gratitude like you did. That builds strength. Repetition builds strength. That's a mental exercise, just like physical exercise. But if you decide, okay, I want to get stronger, I'm going to do squats, and you do squats 1 day a week for 1 hour, not much is going to change. You're going to be really sore the next day for sure. 1 hour of pure squats. But if that's all you do, like 1 hour of therapy one time, it's not really going to make the biggest difference in your life. But if you learn those strategies that you can do a little bit every day or every other day, 5 minutes a day, those squats 2 or 3 times a week of intense exercise just in your normal routine, over some time, over some months, you're going to see some big improvement, and you're going to look back and see, wow, I've gotten so much stronger. I'm so proud of myself. Same thing with mental health. If you practice some of these things, or work with someone, or just using this time really where you can really come out of it the other end, you're going to look back and say, wow, I'm so proud of myself. Look how far I've come.
Yeah. So an important part of that, at least for someone like with a brain like mine, would be what you suggested, in actually writing things down before your workout, after your workout, and keeping track of it. It's almost a journaling, of a type of journaling, to show your progress.
Yeah.
Because it is hard to really understand fully how far you've come, or when you're feeling really down, you forget how great it's going to make you feel. So that's important. I'm going to suggest that one at home. Thank you. So let's move on to teams. What we're hoping to cover today is both recreational level athletes and elite athletes. I don't know which one you'd like to start with.
We can start maybe with the rec athletes, because then it will kind of bleed into the elite athletes probably too.
Okay. So when we are preparing for this interview today, we were talking about, let's say, the example of a girl who's in hockey, and her family and her are hockey. How many times a week, weekends away at tournaments, and now all of a sudden it's not happening. What are some tips for them? And they must be really feeling completely unglued right now.
Yes. Yeah. And so again, just reiterating that when you have that routine, that structure for so long, and it's so a huge part of your life, then all of a sudden it's just ripped out from under you. There's going to be some really uncertainty, some anxiety, some grief, all of that. And that's so normal. I would encourage families to talk about it. Just talk about how hard it is. Just even check in with your son or daughter of, hey, how are you doing with this? That would be really hard. Even as something as that would be really hard. How can I support you? That's letting them know that this is okay, that I'm finding it hard. Because often kids or teenagers, or adults, we don't want people to know that we're struggling or that we find it hard. We think, oh, well, I should just figure it out then. But really, no one knows how to figure this out. This is brand new to all of us. So being that team, that family team, could be really great. Just checking in with each other, knowing that it's an unprecedented time, that this is not normal. Routine has been stripped from you. So now a way to take that power back could be, okay, what did I really love about that? Well, my teammates, my community. How can I still have community? Maybe it's team check-ins. Even if it's just to hold that accountability of, how are you doing? The coach can kind of do a Zoom call, just even to see, are you guys doing your weekly workouts? Or maybe you're completely done in the season. It's just a way to check in with each other, to still provide that team feel. Maybe it's still having a routine of, okay, on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I'm going to do this workout. On Tuesday, Thursday, I'm going to do these sprints, or, have off or whatever. Kind of still implementing your own routine and working with your coach or your teammates or your parents and family on how to implement a routine. Because again, routine is so crucial right now.
I love that. And it's a real good advice and encouragement for coaches, whether they're recreational level or higher level, to reach out to your team. Even if your season's done, reach out to your team from last season, check in, make sure they're okay, and maybe offer some suggestions in terms of a weekly schedule of activity that athlete can engage in to keep them healthy. That's a cool idea. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
So what about the parents? Because they're supposed to be parenting kids that are feeling this way, but the parents are feeling that way too. I know some families that are really have some very athletic kids, and that's also their social network, is all the other parents.
Yeah. And so for parents, it's kind of like the airplane again. You have to put on your own oxygen mask first before you help the person next to you, which is harder because it's your kid. And you don't want to see them hurting, or that their schedule, their team, their joy is now not there for them. And that's really hard for parents. So again, just acknowledging that, kind of talking with your friends about it, other parents who are in the exact same boat. So you have that community, or at least journaling about it, checking in with yourself. Maybe for you, it's exercise. That's a stress reliever, listening to music or a walk. Finding those kind of self-care things are really important, so that then you can kind of check in with your kids. And again, it doesn't have to be an hour-long sit down of tell me how you're feeling and all of that. It's really just, how are you doing? I think this would be really hard if I was 16 going through it. I don't know what I would do. What can we do to help you? What would be helpful? Where are you feeling overwhelmed? Even inviting that. Okay, how can we work together in this? So a lot of that together talk, so that they don't feel isolated, they don't feel alone, because that's overwhelming to do school online, to not have your friends, not have your team, not have your athletic activity. That's a lot.
Yeah. I'm going to try that at home, because there's a lot. There's, like I said earlier, there's couple pretty frustrated, angry teens in my home, and they're not really wanting to talk, but I'm going to try to at least put it out there and say I'm here and I care and I'm noticing it's hard, and see what happens.
And honestly, they may not say anything. They may, especially teenagers, but even knowing that door's open, or check-ins come, kind of intermittently, that's going to make a huge difference to them. You never know what time, every time you knock on that door of sharing that or just checking in, when they're finally going to open it.
True. Great. So that's super helpful. How about the elite athletes? And there's a lot of them in our community, people who have been training for Ironmans, or there's Olympians that have been preparing, and now that's changed.
Yeah.
How do they manage? That must be even a different level of grief.
Yeah. And so my background, I come from a super athletic family in the United States. My grandpa is a Hall of Fame pro baseball player. My dad, my uncle were dual sport athletes as well, football and baseball. Football was the big thing. I'm American. My dad was a quarterback. My mom was a cheerleader. And somehow I turned Canadian. I became a hockey player. But I played pretty much everything growing up, and hockey was my main sport. I moved away at 15. I went to a special school for hockey, where it's kind of like university, but at 15. So people like Sidney Crosby went there. Wow. Pretty much all of Team USA Olympians, and then pretty much most of the NHL superstars on the men's side. So it was high intensity pressure, which is kind of how I got into counseling. Is in athletics, this is not talked about. Your mental health, of you are expected to be strong all the time, rise to the occasion, which really, if we are honest about it, that's not sustainable day in and day out, every single day, every single performance. And so I worked with a sports psychologist, which back then it wasn't even counseling, and even sports psychology was like a little, you were weird, but I was a goalie, so we were okay to be weird.
And it's mostly performance based as opposed to human based. Yeah.
It's all performance based, how to be a better athlete, which I work a ton in, but often there's underlying things. There's self-confidence, there's esteem, there's doubt, there's worries, how to change those negative thoughts of don't lose the puck, don't lose the puck, don't lose the puck. Well, what happens? You're going to lose the puck. Right. How do I change that thought pattern? And so I worked with a counselor as well, an actual therapist, to work through some of those doubt and worry. Anxiety was my biggest thing that I struggled in. A lot of life changes, a lot of identity, basically transformation. I thought I was going to come to Canada in 2010 to win a gold medal in Vancouver. Canadians won, so that didn't happen, but I also blew up my wrist. So I've had like 3 major wrist reconstructions. Always know when it's going to get rainy, so my wrist was hurting yesterday. But kind of transitioning my identity from this athlete for so long and so ingrained in my family too, to now who the heck am I?
Yes.
What is my worth? What am I good at? What's my purpose? All of these big life questions that we all have as humans, but when you're not really allowed to talk about it in athletics, it's scary. And so that's what really motivated me to go into counseling. Is I just personally really benefited from a lot of the anxiety, a lot of the negative thoughts, a lot of my identity, which you don't need to be an athlete to struggle in. Maybe it's work, maybe it's your family, maybe it's that self-doubt of I'm just not good enough in any area. But for elite athletes in particular, you're pretty wired to achieve. And on those strength finders, that's my number one strength. But it's actually one of my least favorite qualities about myself, to be honest, is that achiever, because it's really hard to turn off. So if your routine, your team, your training schedule, your ambitions, your dreams, whether it's this championship, whether it's spring league to get a scholarship, whether it's a triathlon or the Olympics, and that's just postponed right now, but it feels like it's taken away.
Yeah.
That is just detrimental, not only to who you are as an athlete, but as your identity as a person. It's really hard to separate the two. It's important to, but it's hard. And everything's out from under you. So how do I still maintain this high level of training that I was able to do with support and gyms opening and all of these things, where now I can't? And I work with people from high performance youth, kind of that teenage, even a little bit younger, who are trying to get scholarships, all the way to professional across many sports, individual and team sports, to Olympics. And they're all feeling it. Every single one of them. And so kind of giving yourself permission to feel it, I think, is number one. That every one of us are feeling it. Every one of them are feeling it. Reaching out, keeping in touch with strength coaches, skill coaches, teammates, that sort of thing. Even writing out what I can control versus what I cannot.
That's important, yeah.
I cannot control that my gym is closed, or that my strength coach, or that this showcase that I was going to get recruited at is now canceled. I can control now how I work on my mental game or take care of myself. Kind of like how if I was physically injured, I couldn't train. I couldn't go to practice. I couldn't play games. I could still work on my mental game. Practice some of those foundations of visualization, positive self-talk, breathing. And that's what I work a lot with athletes in doing to enhance their performance. But again, those are life skills too, that are not just going to make you a better athlete and perform better. They're going to make you just a better person. Say 10 years from now, when you're in a job interview and you're nervous as heck going into it, and you can practice some of that breathing. You can practice some of that positive self-talk. Remember your past successes of, okay, I've done this before. I can do this. Visualizing yourself going in and killing it, things like that. And so I think honing in on what you can control, like those things, even your physical workouts, keeping in touch with teammates and coaches is going to be huge.
And I guess like any issue, knowing you're not alone. It didn't even occur to me that you're currently counseling a lot of these people right now, and they're probably all feeling alone in this, and they're not. Everybody they're competing against, or they're all out there feeling the same way, and it's an opportunity, I hear you saying, for building other skills, which is cool. I love that. So what are some of the people, I know you don't want to disclose any names, of course, but what are some of the ways that some of the people you work with are coping? They're squeezing in workouts that are a little different, I guess. What else are they doing?
So we work on kind of identifying some of the priorities, making your priorities and scheduling them in. Because especially with, this could go across the board of a teacher to a mom to a student, but an athlete in particular is so used to routine and schedule. Same thing like a class. If you know your class is 9 to 11, Mondays and Wednesdays, you schedule that in and you anticipate it, you prepare for it. With an athlete now, their whole schedule is pretty much upended.
Yep.
And we don't really know when it's coming back to normal. So we have to make our priorities our priorities. So for some, that's okay, I like exercising first thing in the morning. And so I'm going to get my exercise in. And we break it down even more of, okay, this Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I'm going to work on a specific body part. We work with a strength and conditioning coach, break it down, write it out, have a set plan. So you don't just go into a workout saying, what should I do today? But you have a clear plan, and that can be for anybody. I find that super helpful, of following a plan instead of, okay, well, now I should just run, or I should try to work out. What should I do? I'm not going to probably do it then. So a plan. Another pillar that's probably a priority for most is social support, whether that's families that are living together or they're apart right now, friends, social support, that sort of thing, teammates, coaches, just checking in with each other. Some like to have that, again, a Zoom, just check in once a week of how the workout's going, what do you guys need support in, what's going well. Just that check-in can be huge. So exercise, social support, diet is going to be huge right now. Nutrition, really focusing in on that. That's something you can control, what you eat, how much rest you get, which is huge. The mental part of it, how you practice some of these mental skills right now. And then some you time, some self time. Maybe that is mental stimulation. So that means learning. That could be watching informational videos or reading books or learning a new skill or hobby that you've always wanted to do but never had time because you always had hockey or you always had soccer. Or maybe it's, okay, I'm done from the day because I'm a student too, so I'm trying to learn throughout the day, and that's going to be a pillar of priority too. I have to budget in and schedule in my school time, when I study the best, where I'm going to do, what I'm going to do, break it down. Maybe by the end of the day, I just need to watch an episode of my favorite Netflix show. Maybe not 5, but 1 or 2. That's okay.
Yeah. Those are all really great suggestions. Thanks, Barb. I don't know if there's anything generally you want to say to everybody who's out there trying to exercise and self-isolate. I know that they're starting to, in some communities, including ours, closing down some of the parks, which is making it tougher. Do you have any recommendations on how to, for me, getting outside is part of what's really powerful for me, is being outside. Yeah. So how do we do that and get our exercise in without being at risk to ourselves or other people?
Yeah, I think there is something so powerful about being in nature, getting vitamin D. We know that's huge too in regulating our hormones and our emotions. And if you can get outside and still practice all of the restrictions and social distancing, that's huge. If you can, that's great. Even trying to aim for it maybe twice a week or once a week, whatever works for your schedule. What works for one person doesn't necessarily have to work for another. So it's very personal. Maybe some people connect in nature more and they want to do more hikes, more walks or bikes, and try to do that, 3 times or less or more a week. Some people, they want to lift weights, so trying to do that more. So really seeing what makes you feel better. So again, that check-in, maybe I'm a 3 before I work out, but then I feel, after I walk, I'm actually an 8 because I'm outside too. And after I do the weights, I'm a 6, which is still good. But if I use that variety too, then I don't get burnt out. I don't do the same thing day in and day out, and that repetition can be really draining actually. In isolation. So trying to make sure that you find what works good for you, what makes you come more alive. And that could be what kind of exercise, what kind of hobby, what kind of people you're connecting with. Do you feel better or worse after doing it? And sometimes it's that like muscle pain but I mean, if you can really see how you feel better and you see that, you're going to be more motivated to keep going then.
Well, thank you, Barb, for joining us today. I'm going to wrap it up. Hope you join us again. Maybe we can talk about grief.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody, for joining us on Third Space Live today. Stay tuned for more shows to come. You can check in on our website at thirdspacecanada.org, Facebook and Instagram. And thanks so much from all of us at Third Space and on behalf of Barb for joining us. See you again soon. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.